Hi, I'm Gary Patterson, and welcome to Jazz Vespers here at St. Andrews-Wesley United Church, a light in the heart of the city. We are an open-minded and open-hearted community seeking to follow in the way of Jesus, which means we do our best to engage in the work of love in the world and all around. We are here, we recognize, on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh. Here at this congregation, we celebrate the gift of music, knowing that that is so often the way we can take big ideas like hope and life and God and love and move them from our heads right into our hearts. And we've discovered that jazz is a particularly effective way for doing that, as jazz and the spirit dance together. This day, we will be hearing from two amazing young musicians, Dan Reynolds on piano and Conrad Good on bass. Strangely enough, these two were born and raised in Vancouver. They even went to high school together. And then after that, they went to the Schulich School of Music at McGill University in Montreal, where they had their training in both performance and composition. They have played in concerts and jazz festivals around the country, but now Vancouver is home for both of them, where they play with each other by themselves with a variety of musicians and are a real gift to Vancouver. And so they are going to lead us into this time of preparing and waiting. And the first song that they are going to play is called A Child is Born by Tad Jones, which is an appropriate song considering that we are only 19 sleeps away from Christmas Day. And despite the fear of pandemic and the sadness about being cut off from extended family, we might be able to focus on the reason why we're celebrating the birth of love in our world. A Child is Born is a reminder of that, and it is such a beautiful ballad that a little bit later, Alex Wilder put lyrics to the song. And he actually wrote, and I'd love you to just hear these words at the back of your mind as the music takes you to unknown places. Now, in the night, fresh as the dawn, into the light this child, innocent child, soft as a fawn, this child is born. With one heart, two eyes, a work of art resting in my arms. Here he lies, trusting and warm, blessed this morn, for a child is born. Listen now as we go on a journey. And now the journey continues with a great jazz standard by John Coltrane, Moment's Notice. And the very title is suggestive of our need to be alert, awake, and ready to respond at a moment's notice, because who knows how and when or where love might actually be born into the world and refresh our spirits. I love the way that John Coltrane has expanded the notion of God. His name or word for God is a love supreme, and I suspect that's what he is hoping will be caught by us in a moment's notice. So I leave you with the words of a 17th century mystic, Angelus Silesius, who wrote just very briefly, "And if you make a manger in your heart, then God will once again be born a child on earth." Just think of that, a manger in your heart, and each one of us responsible and called to give birth to this holy love in this Christmas season. Let's see how John Coltrane plays it out with Dan and Conrad. A child is born, moment's notice, and then a love song, If You Never Come to Me, by Antonio Carlos Jobim. It is such a song that is full of romance, the yearning of someone for a lover, someone who would connect with them and they would be grounded here in the world. But maybe because I'm a preacher guy, I immediately think of it in spiritual terms as somebody yearning for and wanting to connect with God. God of many different names, the mystery, transcendence, Holy One, Creator, Spirit. Name God as you will, but think always of the holy mystery and the loving presence, and our hearts ache for the connection with that. And you'll notice that Dan and Conrad try to make this work, and you can hear the lyrics that are later added by Frank Sinatra. But I was reminded of a song by Leonard Cohen from his final album, because it pivots on that word if you never came. And he actually writes a song that carries echoes of the apocalyptic or the end of times, maybe suited for this pandemic that seems to be never ending, and we are so hungry for something different. Cohen writes, "If the sun would lose its light, and we lived in endless night, and there was nothing left that you could feel, well, that's how I would be, what my life would mean to me if I didn't have your love to make it real. If the stars were all unpinned and a cold and bitter wind swallowed up the world without a trace, well, that's where I would be, what my life would mean to me if I couldn't lift the veil and see your face. If no leaves were on the tree and no sand were in the sea, and the break of day had nothing to reveal, that's what I would be, what my life would mean to me if I didn't have your love to make it real. If the sun would lose its light and we lived in endless night and there was nothing left that you could feel, if the sea were sand alone and if every flower made of stone and no one that you hurt could ever heal, that's how broken I would be, what my life would mean to me if I didn't have your love to make it real." The answer behind that is that love will come. That love will always be there, welcoming and enlivening. Hold that promise as you listen to the music that will lead us further in. You're going to recognize the next tune that Dan and Conrad play. Morning Has Broken, a classic Gaelic Celtic tune written by Eleanor Fargion. It is one that I actually confess I remember more Cat Stevens as singing than anybody else. That dates me, but nevertheless, it is once again this sense of promise that it will be a rebirth, a beginning again, as if it were the very first morning. You will be surprised if your heart, your mind, your eyes, your ears, your whole being is open to all that is around you. And that is so important because on Christmas Day, when you wake up and you recognize that the festivities are not going to be like they have been in the past, you still need to say, this morning, December 25th, this morning has broken like the first morning, like the first Christmas morning, and always holding on to the truth of love being here in the world, and that being a means by which you can find deeper and richer life. I want to share one more poem with you. This one comes from William Stafford, who wrote The Way It Is, and he's using the metaphor of holding on and following a thread that leads you deep into the promise of life. And he writes, there is a thread you follow. It goes through things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder at what you are following. You try to explain, but it's hard for others to understand. As long as you hold on to the thread, you will not be lost. Oh, tragedies will happen. You will suffer and grow old. There will be tragedy and people will die. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding, but you never let go of the thread, the promise, the hope, the love. Morning has broken like the first morning. It really has, every day. Before we come to our final tune, Blueset by Toots Thielemans, I have a couple of things that I want to share again. I have been carrying in my heart the little phrase, what I do while I wait depends on what I'm waiting for. And I hold that close to me as we come closer to Christmas, thinking, what am I waiting for, really? And how can I cope with the sadness of not gathering with friends or a midnight service in the church with 1,000 people lighting candles? What am I going to do? Because that depends on what I'm waiting for. And I realize I'm waiting for love to be born into the world, knowing that I have my part in enabling that to happen, and knowing that the Holy One, this mysterious power of love, that also is at work in the world. And my call, my task, and yours, I would suggest, is to discover where it is already blooming and then put your shoulder into helping it grow even more strong and more beautiful. The words of the commissioning that I always use, the sending forth, are words that maybe speak right now. Friends, life is short, and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those we travel with. So be swift to love and make haste to be kind. Be swift to love and make haste to be kind. Now, one of the ways that you might actually embody that is by making a special donation to any one of agencies or institutions or organizations that are engaged in the work of love in the world, trying to make it better for people who are having a really tough time. And I know that many of us will not be able to make that gesture because in the midst of the pandemic and with Christmas approaching, things are tight and tough. But if you do feel that you have a donation you'd like to make, then you might consider making a donation to St. Andrews-Wesley United Church to enable this work of jazz and spirit dancing together to continue on, to enable and support the work that this congregation does with refugees or those who are in need, those who are struggling with addiction and homelessness, a lot that can happen. Behind, you'll see on the screen 3 or 4 different ways that you might be able to donate. You could phone our office, 604-683-4574, and make a donation. You might go to our website and find the donate button there. You might want to text 77977 and then STAW, S-T-A-W, and that will take you to PushPay. Or you might even take a picture of the little sign to the right here that will again take you right through to PushPay, and you can make a donation or not, as the case may be. Maybe enough of me. I love the music, and Blueset is here. And once again, lyrics were added to it after the tune was written. And it says, poor little, sad little blue Blueset. Don't you cry and don't you fret. You can bet that one day you'll awaken and discover your blues are forsaken. One lovely day you will find that lovely love has come your way. So yeah, there will be blues in this season in December, but there will also be those moments when the blues will be forsaken and lovely love will come our way. May it be so for you, and may God hold you in love and care for you always. Amen.